Screendragon is faring pretty well in the innovation department, and that's one reason why we received a leader badge. Let me talk about that because I think it's helpful for us to understand what that means. So, can
Mhm.
you frame for us what leader means, and then in this category, resource management, how you define resource management?
Right. First of all, let me quickly mention that everything we do relies on user feedback and on reviews. All the reports you see, all the grids you see on our website, all these scores that make up reports, grids, etc., are based on user feedback. Okay. Um, when it comes to resource management, I think that's probably one of the most misunderstood types of software in the project management world. And here's why. Um, Usually when you have projects, right, you have all kinds of tasks that you need to create and you need to assign to someone, right? When you have pretty basic tasks that are repetitive and everyone pretty much does the same thing over and over again, it's pretty straightforward to assign them. It's always the same people. I've worked with companies when sometimes they just copy an old project and it keeps, everything, and then you just change some dates and that's pretty much it. But what happens when you have dozens of projects or hundreds and dozens of employees that are involved and it's not that straightforward? Well, in that case, all those people or resources, they need to be assigned to specific tasks because often, like in marketing, for instance, you have specialized employees, right? You cannot assign anyone to any task. That doesn't make sense. If you have, let's say, a social media expert and someone who's an expert at creating content, you will need to assign them to those tasks for each project or for each stage of a project. Often, unfortunately, that is done manually, which is obviously not a great idea.
Mhm.
So what you need to do is first make sure you define those resources. Who does what in your company? What is their expertise? What is their seniority? Right? And then you have to match those with every single task that you have in a project or a portfolio of projects. That with resource management can be done automatically. Okay. That is the main benefit of resource management.
I love that. And I appreciate the focus on resource management because when I talk to marketing teams and marketing agencies, it
Mhm.
seems to be one of the biggest pain points that they have. I've talked to a lot of agencies, to your point, that are more project management tools that they're using. And
Yeah.
they come to us saying, I can't manage a team with this tool. You have
Mhm.
tasks and subtasks, but the process of finding the right resource and then managing the whole team across several projects, across several work streams to make certain that you understand capacity and constraints and then build plan ahead. Super
Exactly.
tough. Here we've got a lot of agencies that are global with 20 plus offices
Mhm.
globally. And it's funny, they all had a similar thread. And that similar thread was we've got offices across the world, 20
Mhm.
plus, with resources in every office.
Mhm.
And our big problem, because they had more of a project management tool, is when they pulled together a client brief for 2025, the account manager would have a sphere of understanding of who might be
Mhm.
available. And a lot of
Yeah.
times that was around the New York office.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you would have utilization issues because everyone was over capacity in New York, so you start using freelance. And then the office in Colombia has lots of capacity, and so the
Mhm.
visibility wasn't there. And so that's a common result of a project management tool. And in our case, one of the reasons why we're a leader in resource management is because we give them instant visibility, not just to the resources, because you have the ability to assign at the brief what talent you need, what skills you need, what seniority you need, what functional areas of expertise you need. You define that in the brief and it flows through the resource calendar so you can actually see who's available and what you need. You can also see all the pre-proposal stage opportunities in the CRM, so you can actually
Yes.
get a view toward future capacity constraints, not just current ones. And that's
Exactly.
huge. And, in resource management world, if you have the ability to do that in a fluid way, it's big. And then you've got agencies that want to create like power tandems, right? Where you have two individuals working together to create like an asset. But if one person is not available, you want to adjust the schedule for the other, and across thousands of resources, that becomes a challenge. Well, by rule, you can have them automatically associated. So when you move one, the other automatically moves in the resource calendar. You do that by rule. It's all enabled by workflow. Screendragon's really good at that. But that's something you capture in the resource manager category. And I love the fact that you focus on that, because I think that's a big need in the industry. And I think that's one reason why your evaluation is so helpful.
Absolutely. One thing I would like to add to that is that when you track your resources, of course, planning in advance and assigning the right people to the right task matters, but also what matters a lot is costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people are obviously a cost for a company, and in professional services, they are the biggest cost. So you want to make sure you optimize that too, because on a project, you get paid for a project,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you want to make sure that the resources you use for that project, plus any other costs that you may have, are less than what you get paid for, so that you're a profitable company. And that's, again, another thing that project management tools usually don't do. It's that cost part and the finance part that is critical for resource management.
The cost part, the finance part, managing those late requests from clients. I want you to do this work because you promised this, you didn't do it. It winds up being pro bono.
Right.
And then managing all the different resources to make certain you try and work toward margin targets so you don't have margin compression. Yeah, try to do that in a project management tool. Good luck, right? So yeah, I can appreciate that. So resource management, good to be a leader. I'm so thankful that G2 is focused on that as a category.